Let's hear from Mr. Ravi Sundararajan, Chief Operating Officer, Webaru.
So I think continuing a bit more as we talked about in the panel, we all asked this question: where will India be, a few years from now? What model will take to evolve? So one of the things that we at IMAI thought would be useful is to look at the model that China and Japan, and also compare a little bit to the US, and see what are the similarities, and can we use that lens to kind of predict how we would evolve. So if you look at, so we briefly talked about this at the panel. So India, I think we are close to about $15 billion in e-commerce revenues. But if you look at China, right, so it's about, they've grown from close to 200 billion to close 300 billion this year, right? And US was 300, now it's about 360. So the growth rate at which China is growing in the next 12 to 18 months, China is going to be a much bigger e-commerce market than US, which is huge. That, 10 years ago, there were hardly anybody using internet and leave alone e-commerce. And now, within 10 years, you have them going to be the biggest e-commerce market in the world, which I think is commendable. So if you look at this, it's been going on for quite some time, right? China has been growing over 100% for the last 10 years, and the last 2 years, the growth rate has been over, 66%. So, and if you look at the growth trajectory, if you look at the graph, the last 3-4 years is when they actually took off. It was they've been growing on a tear. So there are some drivers that's helping this. So last year, US was about 5% of their total e-commerce sales. Total retail sales was on e-commerce, was online. And last year is when actually China took over, about a little bit over 6% of China's total retail sales was e-commerce. So in a country where smartphone penetration is much lesser, you see them overtaking in terms of the percentage of people shopping online. So that's a huge event where they actually overtook US in terms of number of people shopping online. And of the 500 million internet users there, over 240 million are online shoppers. So this huge population, right, of over 200 million people shopping online is driving some of this growth that's happened recently. And it was just kind of more of a, it evolved eventually, and then when the critical mass took over, it just kind of tipped. So what is it that's driving this, and what are the lessons we can learn when you compare India versus China? Because I think some of the things that are going on there in terms of the geography, in terms of the rural market, in terms of logistics and stuff like that, there are a lot of similarities. So if you look at China, the number of independent merchants is actually not that much. In US, over close to 80% of the people who offer goods online are independent merchants. In China, it's just still 10. And that is actually a huge market. And even if you look at the top retailers, right, and the internet coverage versus the top retailers, in most of the developed markets, it's about, it's pretty close. You see in US over 80% penetration, and then even the top retailers is over 50%. But in China, the concentration of the top retailers is 13%, where the internet penetration actually is 57, right? In India, it's 12 and 3. So it's actually a 4x difference. So those are the things that actually, if you look at some of the similarities, even in India and China, the potential is huge. The smartphone penetration is low. The independent merchants haven't even come online, and it's not driven just by the major retailers. So there are a lot of small transactions happening, and it's just not concentrated and driven by just a few key retailers. So that's going to be huge in terms of driving future growth. Now, if you look at some of the drivers, which is very different from US, in China, social media recommendations drive over 50% of the sales. If you look at what's going on here, 55% actually 1 to 3 times, and then another 23% is actually 4 to 5 times, and it goes on, right? So these sites, so we talked about some questions where there, why is India, so India, what's happening now is it's just an extension. The social media here is nothing homegrown. Here it's just like we have Facebook and a lot of the things that are there in Western markets, we have similar social media sites. But the needs are different. In fact, people look for recommendations. Just like in China, there are social media sites just focused on shopping. There are mobile apps just focused on shopping. And these apps have over 200 million users, right? There are taxi cab apps that do 11 million transactions per day. We'll go through some of the examples. So what's driving this is there are very specific social media sites that drive things like shopping recommendations that's helping. So if you look at the kind of some of the key players there, we all have heard of, Alibaba. They're recently going to go public, and they have a lot of these apps, and they drive a ton of e-commerce there. It's about 80% of the e-commerce market. It's owned by them, right? But they also have apps, and recently they announced an app called Quadidash. What it means is to hail a taxi, right? And today, that app just recently launched. Tencent and WeChat, Tencent also has an app called Didi Dash, which actually was the initial app, and then later on this app came on. And if any of you have been recently to China, even to hail a cab, people use these apps, and they get tips. Based on tips, taxi cabs won't stop for regular people on the pavement. They actually wait for their notification from these apps, and they do it. And they have 100 million registered users, these two apps combined, and they do 11 million transactions per day. Those are huge, and these are just a year old. And now they're raising $100 million just for this app alone, right? So there are a lot of factors driving this. And look at WeChat, right? WeChat is actually over 250 million daily active users, and it's primarily used for shopping, where they actually have people, departmental stores can come and set up shops. They have a way of vetting the products, and then they have users can also use wallets, M-wallets, to make payments, and makes it very easy. So you have an app that's being used by hundreds of millions of users, that's not only driving social media recommendations for shopping, but also driving a lot of the shopping transactions. So that's kind of a big factor. Even if you look at Japan, right? Even there, a lot of the stuff happens on mobile because of a few reasons. I mean, there's Rakuten that kind of drives over, that's a huge e-commerce player, but they acquired Viber, and you have Line. And even in Line, they have Line malls, they have shoppers who come in, they qualify these shoppers, they give them places to display their goods, they give them IDs, they kind of rate these shoppers, and then they have customers who can also come, and they also have a Line Mall ID, and they can do it. So they make it very easy for these things to happen. And we talked about some of the factors that's preventing growth in India. It's some of these indigenous apps, indigenous social networks, indigenous payment systems that need to be there to drive this, right? So that's kind of what will help tip it over. And there are a lot of factors that are common, right? If you look at mobile internet apps, APIs usage, we talked about what's going on in Japan and China, but even in India, right? We had the panelists, what they said is over a third to more than half of the transactions for, Flipkart, Make My Trip, Snapdeal, Quicker, all of them are from mobile. And also the recent IMAI published number, over 165 million people, this was a recent report that came out in March 2014, are actually mobile internet users, and over close to 250 million people are actually using the internet. So that's a huge percentage, right? The other thing is geography. So if you look at US versus China, Japan, and India, in Japan there are different factors. It's not only the rural, but also they have a lot of these natural disasters, and people are used to, because of that disruption in supply chains, people are used to shopping even common goods like rice and some commodity goods online. But in China and India, people don't have access. Even if they have access, it's kind of, they're in rural areas, they don't have access to these malls. And you don't have a choice. I don't get the latest goods, I can't go to a mall over a weekend, distances are huge. So in that case, all you're left with, if you want to get the latest trends or latest goods, the biggest thing driving in China is actually clothes and accessories, right? Whereas India is different. Today, most of our 15 billion e-commerce revenues is driven by travel, but the other categories are growing, online retail. So that means there's a huge potential where we just have scratched the surface with travel, but the other categories, which are the leading categories in countries like China, where it's driven by the tier 2, tier 3 towns that don't have access to malls, they actually can do that. The other thing is social factors, right? In Japan, it's maybe distance and logistical access, but in China, actually social media recommendations drive it. And even in India, they did a survey of sharing, right? We come second after Saudi Arabia in terms of sharing things online and talking about things. US is distant 11th. So there are a lot of factors that could drive the social, local, mobile. So if India were to evolve like China, what would happen? So let's look at some of things what happened in China, right? So initially most of it was online as in 2010, 2011. It's just in the last 2 years, a lot of the stuff went mobile, right? Over 4%, now it's close to 8% of their shopping is based on mobile shopping. And they expect that to be close to 15% in a couple of years. So that actually is huge. So if you look at and compare where India is and where it could, if we were to mimic some of the things that are happening in China, A, the categories would change, online retail would increase rather than just travel. B, a lot of stuff would happen through mobile. For that to happen, we also need to enable things like payments, right? So there, if you look at in China, of the 250 million users, over 50% of the users have made mobile payment, versus only 19% in internet. So they had to overcome this trust. Even there, it wasn't easy. Initially, people didn't trust anything, online. Then they had gained the trust. It was driven by these apps like WeChat, like what Tencent did, like what Alibaba did. So they drove some of this stuff where today it's second nature for people to just go hail a cab, go buy a shirt online, or go do some of the basic stuff, which actually is causing, which we think we are at 15 billion, but China soon could be over 50 billion in just mobile e-commerce, where overall our e-commerce is 15. So that could be a huge change. So overall, I think if we had to see what are the things that we could do, we talked about contextualizing stuff. How do we enable payments? How we don't overdo stuff, customer acquisition, notifications, whatever we do it in the right way. Even if you're sending stuff, send it twice a week, send messages that are helpful to them, that also you intersperse it with an addition to something about the product. That's, if you're selling, baby care products, talk about parenting. Have some messages about parenting, then talk about baby care. So contextualizing, making it useful, making it educational helps a lot. So the other thing in China is if you look at mobile payments, though apps drive a big portion, if you look at it, SMS drives over 30%. Apps is about 22%, or 30% is SMS, and followed by mobile web, and then obviously they have other mechanisms where they actually enable devices where you can make payments by mobile. And the other thing is around QR codes, right? There what you can do is you can actually scan a QR code, go to a vending machine, use your WeChat app, pay, and then get your product. So they have offline, online shopping combinations, and so that's going to be huge. So basically, I think if we had to look at some of the key drivers for online commerce growth and what are the things that are preventing, obviously if we use contextual notifications in a right way and base it on the time of the day and make it customized to what they're looking for and make it more, pull-driven, where if I, for example, can do some APIs where I can use leading apps like WhatsApp or Indigenous app, where I can just say deals and it'll tell me all the deals nearby. Or I can just say, give me ATMs nearby, right? Or tell me where I can go and get stuff. So then it's pull-based. The customer is using the app that he's used to, be it a WhatsApp, be it any local app, right? And so they pull notifications, and then it's pull-based. So it's pull-based, push-based notifications, apps that are customized to their what they want to do with a lot of trust and built over time with small transactions, eventually evolving. Obviously creating APIs that make it easy to make uniform gateways and stuff like that. And then obviously delivering the relevant content and having the infrastructure to deliver it in terms of bandwidth and stuff like that. And then using things like in India, this has to be contextual regional coverage too, using things like voice to actually do some of these things. So I think those are going to be some of the drivers. We'll have, as a part of this address, and I think at Webro we're driving a lot of these things to enable this stuff. We're working with various companies. I'll also have, I think, so I'll hand it over to the next person, Beru, who's going to come. I think we'll have a brief introduction.
Webaru.